Hello everyone and welcome back to another Minecraft video. I'm Hydrogen Vacuum and today we're going to be exploring my newest command block creation, which is a 3D printer. So this is mainly a useful machine for people working with custom apps because it allows you to create randomized builds very easily and on a big scale. So let me quickly demonstrate to you how to set it up. For those of you who aren't aware, this is how to install a function. So I have right here a folder that has all of my functions that I want to put into my world. This function right here just says, hello hydrogen vacuum. So we're going to use this as our example. So if I want to move this folder of functions into my world, I go to %appdata%, Minecraft, saves, and then I go into here and I select the world I want to move it into, which in this case we're going to do 1.12 command testing. I go into data, functions, and then I just move the folder in. Now I go back to my Minecraft, I do /reload, and now if I run the function, example colon, what did I name it? I named it example colon example function. There it is. I run it. It says, hello hydrogen vacuum. So that's quickly how to install any function or folder of functions, which will include my printer. Once you've installed the printer, the next step is to run the initialization function, which is as simple as doing this, /function printer :init. Now it runs a ton of commands, as you can see, and it gives you a bunch of items. Now it's going to be important for you to know how to use all of these items in the setup and use of the printer. So let's begin, starting with this first one right here, set corner. So the way you use this is you just place it down wherever you want your corner to go. So let's say I want my corner to be here, right? Now let's say I don't want my corner to be here and I want to move it, I'll push it over to here. I just place it down. Every time I place it down in a new location, it moves the corner to that new location. So it's a very simple item, which does have another feature, but we'll get back to it later on. The next one is the changing print direction. This one, you just rotate through the 4 directions by right-clicking with it, right? And it has a little bit of information about what it means. So hovering over it will tell you what it means by printing direction. Because there are 2 printing directions. It's going to move like this for a row, maybe, but it'll also have to move across. So the printing direction is not referring to when it moves for a row. It's talking about how it denotes what a row is. So if a row is this, right? Then if I set the printing direction to south, for instance, right? And we can see this direction is south this way, right? I can see by reading this here, the north-south, when it's north-south, the printer is going to move west. So a row means that the printer is going to move in this direction, and then the moment it hits an end of a row, it's going to move 1 in the south direction. So that's what this printing direction means. If I switch it to this, that means that it's going to, when I hover over it, it tells me east-west will have the printer move south, so it'll move this way for a row, right? And then the moment it hits the end of a row, it's going to move 1 block over to the east and back to the beginning of the row. That's what this change printing direction does. It also has a little note for you about the order that it rotates through, right? East, west, north, south. Okay, the next one is the printing level. This one is also a very simple item. If you wanted to print multiple levels, multiple heights of your structure, then just right click with this. It starts out at 1. You can shift click to remove a row, but you can't go past 1. Once you hit 1, you can't go below then. But let's say I'm going to have it print 5 in this case, and I'm going to have my print direction set to south because I want the printer to move that way. Now I have a start-stop printer, which is really easy. You just click to start and stop the printer, and then an add block. So let's talk about both of these. Let's talk about both of these right now. The add block one, you stand on top of the block you want and right click. It'll create the block. It'll create a block picker there. So I'm going to do that like this for all of these. However, as of right now, with 1 armor stand on each, you see how it says block weighted up? That's because you can put multiple on any one block. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have 5 on this block, right? Which means there's 5 here, and then there's 1 on each of the rest of these, which means this sandstone has a higher chance of being picked. So you can add more specific chances to each of these in order to make more customized builds. So now that we've set all of this up, let's talk about what I have going on back here. The way you set up the build for the actual printer is that you need to outline on the ground where you want the build to be. So I've got a little doorway here and a nice little room outlined here and the walls of the house. Now this is going to be a little annoying. You are going to have to set up the entire floor plan for whatever you want it to build. However, because you can add as many height as you want, like you can have as many levels as you want, it will save you a ton of time in the long run. The way you indicate the end of a row to the printer is by having it walk across a redstone block. So if I'm the printer right here, right, and I'm walking here along this row, right, the moment I hit a redstone block, the moment I walk over a redstone block, I'm going to go back and start a new row. That's what the printer is looking for when it reaches the end of the row. The emerald block here tells it that it's reached the end of a level, so it's going to go up a new level and start making the next one. So let's just look at it in action. So this is how it looks while building. It's not an instantaneous thing. It's going to have to take some time to build the actual printer, but at any point I can just stop it in the middle, right, by right-clicking again. And if I'm interested, now we can go back to this. I can throw this to reset it to the beginning of the level, and I can just start it again. And it'll totally overwrite whatever it just did. So if you didn't like the level it just created, you can start that level over. Now, there are some bugs I'm currently working through, but and one of them is that if you have a block that is not, like if the armor stand is sort of inside of the block it's trying to clone, it won't actually work. But overall, it's a completely functioning system, and it has a lot of versatile uses. So as you can see right here, we've got a kind of like deserty build that it's sort of coming up with, you know? You can kind of see, you can kind of imagine this being in like a ruined desert sort of theme. It's also going to communicate to you how many levels it has left to print every time it finishes a level, and it'll automatically stop itself the moment it finishes all of the levels. So it only has one level left to go. So once it reaches the end of here, it'll tell us that it's stopped, and it will stop moving. So let's just watch it. Here we go. And done. Now, if I try to reset it now, it won't do anything because it only resets itself to that level. It can't know where the bottom is. But if I want to move the corner back to the beginning, I can always just do this. It does mean I lose all of the print directions and levels that I set for it, but I retain the blocks. So let's look at another example of how to use this. So right here, I've set up a little grass path, right? And I want to turn it into a more interesting path. Over here, I've set up some redstone blocks. Now remember, the armor stand is going to be walking through the path, the grass blocks, and we can't, and if I'd set the redstone blocks up here, with the emerald block here, it wouldn't actually recognize that it's just walked into a redstone block or an emerald block. It will actually, it needs them to be underneath where the armor stand is. So we're going to have to go over here to the add blocks. Now we want to get rid of these. We don't want these to be here anymore, so if we shift and right click, it gets rid of the nearest one, as you can see. So now let's go add a couple here. Let's add a bunch there. One on each of these blocks, yeah. And now let's set the direction. We want it to move east. Oops. Oh shoot. Okay, there we go. There's east. And when it's moving east, when a row is east, that means it'll move south for a row. So it'll move this way for a row and then move this way when it finishes that row. So let's go ahead and watch it in action. As you can see, by heavily weighting the grass blocks in this one, it was very quick, it only had one row, but by heavily weighting the grass blocks, it looked like it was just sort of every once in a while overwriting, and it sort of makes this cool grass path sort of feel. You know, you can run along this and sort of feel like it's hand placed. It looks pretty good. And these are like two examples of many that you can do with this 3D printer. It is much more useful in much longer and larger sections because while it will overwrite blocks, and you should be careful about that, if I want to run it again, right? And I I put like maybe I put like one stone brick monster egg here. It is gonna just blow right over that, right? That block will get completely overwritten. Um, you're gonna have to be wary of that, but otherwise you can use it on huge swaths of your build and really quickly build randomly generated things without having to use programs such as MCEdit. So for people who are interested in using this, I will leave a download link in the description for the folder. You just need to use the tutorial I showed you at the beginning to copy the functions folder I have, and then you run this function printer init to start it, and if you want to get rid of it, printer total reset to get rid of all of the stuff. It gets rid of all of the armor stands, clears all the items from your inventory, and removes all of the scoreboards. There are some things that I should warn about. The printer has to use the coordinate 000 when it's running. It's just necessary, so make sure that you're not going to lose any block that was at 000, because the way that it works is it grabs one of these random blocks that the block pickers are above, and it clones that to 000, and then from there to the armor stand over here. In addition to that, it does have scoreboards called shift, time, C, stick, click, so etc. There's a bunch of other ones. You just got to be sure that none of those are going to overwrite something that you already have. However, I can't imagine that being a humongous problem. But mostly it is very useful. If you have any issues with it, like for instance, if you have a build that you want to be made with redstone blocks, I can show you and or send you one that uses a different block other than these two to indicate the beginning and ending. But other than that, enjoy, and thank you for watching. So subscribe and like below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.